series of Java session 3. So let's begin. So in last session, we have discussed till the loops and different types of loops and the statement like break and continue. And today we are going to start with the functions. So in Java, as we have object-oriented programming, so we need to have a functions present in it. Like the basic syntax includes the class name, and then we have a function like public static void main, and then we write in the brackets the parameter list. So the main components is what do we have is firstly we have public. Now public is what is the access specifier, which tells our code or our class file will be accessible to which domain. It may be that it is accessible within and outside the class. It may be within the same package. It may be accessible everywhere, or it could be accessible only inside the class. That is why we have options like public, we have private, we have protected, and we have friendly. Even if we don't have any access specifier present like this, we just have the function name and the parameter list. So even if we don't have any of the access specifier, it is fine, like it would be treated by default as friendly or public. Then return type. Return type is the data type which we want to return a value. Uh, for any function, like sometimes it may be that we want to return the sum of the series. So we will return the sum of the series, which will be an integer number. So we would be returning in the sum. So for that we have int. We can have boolean, we can have string, we can have double, we can have float, any data type. The return type is a data type of the variable which will be returned by a particular function. And if we don't return any of the variables values, then we can simply write void. So void is a return type which specifies that there is no return type. And then we have sum, which is the method name. So sum is the method name, and then int a, int b. These are the parameter list, which we give inside the brackets. So this whole thing is referred to as the method header, and then inside the curly braces we will have the method body, which will be our method signature. Like here would be having the statements which are to be implemented. So we may have a access specifier or we may not have an access specifier, that is fine. But to have the return type, to have the function name, and to have the parameter list is compulsory. Like in parameter list, we can have a non-parameter function. That means we do not have any parameter present in it. So that is okay, but basically we should have a function name which should be following the identifier rules, and we should have a return type. An access specifier we can write according to our choice, or we can leave it for it to be default access specifier. So these are the things which we need to keep in mind. So for example, if we have private or public functions, so they are associated with a class. Like for private, we can have the private data types, private functions. The things of that, the statements will or the variables will be only accessible within the same class. But for public, we can access it from the same class as well as from another class. And if we use the word protected, then it has to be inside the same package. Okay, so now instance of a class, like objects or particular object we will create. Like whenever we call a object of a function, like if we want to call maybe a some function from a static function, and that is a non-static function, then firstly what we write is the class name. So whatever our class name, we would be writing that. Then we'll be having the object name, which I'm denoting as obj, and that should be equals to new class name, whatever the class name is. So now here what actually happens is this one is our class, This one is the instance of a class which we have created, which is for now the object, and this new keyword helps us to locate the space in the main memory. So this new keyword helps us to like allocate space in the main memory that an object has been created and it's going to do some purpose. And here this class name is not a class, but this actually represents a constructor. Now what is a constructor we would understand in the next slide only. For now it's a constructor. It's a special kind of function which you can understand for now. Okay, so this is what exactly instance is, and that is what we have the new keyword as well. So it would read the code for the class and it would allocate space in the main memory, and it would call the constructor. Like here, when the object creation is there, this line is the object creation, and in the statement where object is created at that time, your constructor is called. So your constructor can be a parameterized, non-parameterized, or default, which we will discuss in the next thing. So whenever you are doing calling any functions, a non-static function from a static function, you need to create an instance that is an object of the class, and then only you can call the respective function. But in case if you have both the things are static, then you can just have class name dot function name. If both the functions are static, then you can simply write class name dot function name. But here you have to first create an object and then only we can write object dot function. So this is what is the importance of the word static, because from static you can only access the static things, but from non-static, static as well as non-static can be accessed. So when you are accessing any non-static function from a static body, then you need to have this instance or the object created inside your code. And so what is actually the benefit of function is, the benefit of function is that you will get to understand the codes in the simpler way, because instead of writing a very long code, we divide the code into smaller modules which will help us to understand better. Like if we have a function as sum, so we know that this function is going to check this sum. If we have check digits, so this is a function which is going to do this purpose. So it divides the program into smaller bits, which makes it easier for understanding and for easier coding. Because once you can check that, okay, this function is working, so this part is correct, the error is coming in this part. But if you write the whole code in one go, then it becomes difficult for you to understand at which point or which statement the error is coming. Okay, and next topic which we have is the constructor. So constructor is a special type of function. It is a special function. Okay, it is a special kind of function. Why it is special? Because of the following points. First point is that same name as class name. So class name, it has the function name as the class name. Okay. The next thing which we have is it has no return type. It should not have any return type. That does not mean that it has void as a return type. No, not even void should be present. Let me show you an example. Yeah. So this is the example. This one is the example of a parameterized constructor of the class make happen. So if we have a class make happen, so this is what is going to be the syntax of the constructor. Constructor is by default public. We cannot change the access specifier of our constructor. So it is always going to be public, make happen, and then we have the parameter list. So the three properties which it follows it, same name as class name, then it has no return type, not even void. And the next thing which we have is, the next point which we have is public, always public. Okay. So this is why this is referred to be a specific function. And why do we have actually a function constructor into a program? So it is basically present to initialize our global variables. Now, what are global variables? So the variables which are present in the function definition. For example, in the class we have this string name. So as it is present inside the class and outside all the functions, so it is going to be and global variable which is going to be accessible throughout the whole code. It is going to be accessible throughout the whole code. And the changes made in the code, like here in the name, this programmix is added. So it would be reflected here as well. Okay, now here what is happening from a static variable, you are accessing a non-static variable. So in case of that, you have to create an object and you can access this by having obj dot the variable name or function name. So this is how you access a non-static attribute from a static function. So this is the importance of static keyword here. Now, your constructor is basically used to initialize values, like here it is initializing name with programming. Now, this one is a non-parameterized constructor. If we had string s and in the instead of this new company, instead of blank thing, we would have added in quotes programmix. It would have gone into that s and name equals to s, then same thing would have happened and it would have become a parameterized constructor. Now, what is actually a default constructor? So if we don't have any constructor into our code, then it becomes a default constructor. Now, default constructor is something which would initialize the variables with its default value. For example, if we did not have this constructor and if we made this object, then the variable name would have been initialized by a blank. And if here you print obj.name, then simply a blank would come here. So this is what is the use of default constructors, parameterized and non-parameterized or no argument. So for no argument, it's our choice. We can give any value of our choice. But in case of parameterized, we can have the user input and we can call it during the object creation into the constructor, and we can enter the values into the variable. The next thing which we have is the function overloading. Now what is function overloading exactly is when two functions are present in our code which has the same name, function name. For example, here we have add and here we have add. So both of them are having same function name. So as they're having same function name, so now what add, if you call a function like adder dot add 11 comma 11, so now there are two add functions. So the compiler of Java would be like in a confusion which function is being called, whether it is the first add function or it is the second add function. Then you will see the next thing by the compiler is the function parameter list. So as it is having the two double values, so if we have this thing, so there are both double. So this one will be chosen. Here we have both as integers. So the first one will be chosen. So when two functions are having the same function name, and so they can be differentiated by the parameter list. Now parameter list can have the following changes. Firstly is the order. So parameter list can have the following changes in it. So firstly, what we have is the number of variables. So we have number of parameters. The first thing what we have is number of parameters. Like first one would have int AB and the second one would have int ABC. So this is a kind of function overloading where the difference is in the number of parameters. Now, secondly, what do we have is second thing which we have is the change in the data type. So, data type, and the third one is the order of different data type order. We don't use as much. We don't use the third case much, but we can have this. So what is there? Like we will have to add functions. So if instead of this, if we write double A, then first will be double A int B. The second one will be int A double B. Double B. So if we have this kind of an example where the order, like we have two different data types and the order are different, then also we can have function overloading. We can have function overloading when there is a different number, different altogether different data types and different number of parameters. Now kindly note that if we have the same parameter list, we have the same parameter list and we only change the data type, we only change the data type, then in that case we may not say that it is overloading. It will only happen when there's a change in the parameter list. Like we can have, like instead of this double also we will have int, in this case also we will have int, and if we have a double and here int, so that does not make it a overloaded function. There has to be a change in the function parameter list only. Okay, so let us look at an example. Okay, so here is the example. So here what we have is we have two add functions. Firstly, we have both the integers, and secondly, we have the double value. So if we are calling, let's firstly comment the second one. We are only calling the integer one. Okay, so let's call this. Let's execute this. So as we have called only the integer one, we got the answer as 22, that is 11 plus 11. So we got the answer for only the integer one because the inputs which were given match to the first case most appropriately. And if we comment the first one and if we try to execute the second one, then we will have the then we will have the second function which is being there. So it would be again a value that is in double because we gave values in double. So the second function matched to the case more perfectly. So we had this. Now if we try to execute both of them, then firstly, firstly our integer would be executed and then our double would be executed. Now here if we try to have the same values, like I would make some changes here. Like if we have int a, int b, and here also we are having. So see, here we are getting an error because we had the same function parameter list for both of them. The only differentiator was our return type. So as both are having the same parameter list, same function name, just different return type, that is not function overloading. It would always give an error. So we need to keep that thing in mind. And one more thing which we have here is uh, that we are having this as the static. First one is the static function, second one is the static function, and we are calling it from the main function, which is again a static function. So here we did not need to create the instance of the object for calling the function. Instead we can just have the class name and the function name present, and in the parameter list we can give our input, or if we want user input, that is also possible here. Okay, so next thing which we have is arrays. Anyone who has any doubt or something? Anyone who has any doubt till now in functions?
Yeah, Sandeep, you can talk now.
Hello, anyone has any doubt? Okay, let's continue if no one has any doubt. Okay. So the next thing which we have is arrays. So array is nothing but it is a collection of values which have the same data type present. So it's simply uh, a collection of things which share some common properties. Like if we have the data type of the array defined as integer, like here we have int a equals to new int 3. So here whatever value we are giving is specified as the length. Okay, length of the array is given in the parenthesis. Then what we have in the square bracket, sorry, yeah. So now this is the length which we are giving, and the index of the array always starts from 0. So the first value which we are entering into an array would have an index of 0, and then it would be keep on adding values, it would be keep on increasing. So this is how we can, if we want to create an array, there are basically two methods which we can follow. Firstly is direct initialization, where we can have like int a array is there, and then we can have values present in it. So this is one way. The second way which would be there is firstly we declare an array, and then what we can do is we can input values like a of 0 is equals to 1, a of 1 is equals to 2. So this is another, like this is useful when we have to give user inputs, and direct initialization is there for cases where we are giving direct on a particular set if we are working. But keep in mind, we should have same data type of all the values. So all the elements present in an array should have the same data types. And along with 1D arrays, we have 2D arrays as well. So two-dimensional arrays, this is like in a linear way. Okay, first let's discuss this, then we will go into 2D. So, first example is we have created a array known as my list. Okay, so this is the just the array name equals to new double, and it has been created for 10 elements. So keep in mind index starts from 0, goes till size minus 1. So we will have in total 10 elements, but it would be from 0 till 9. Okay, so what we will do is we will give the for int I equals to 1. Uh, 1 minute. This should be int I equals to 0. Because we are starting from a 0 index. So I equals to 0, I is less than my list dot length. Now this dot length is the function which gives us the value that is 10. That is the value which we have given here would be given to us by this my list dot length function. And I plus plus, this is what is the basic structure of our loop. Then what we are doing is we are writing my list I equals to I. Okay, now here what will happen? 0 will have 0, 1 will have 1, like that 9 will have 9. And if we print this again from 0 to less than mylist dot length, again from 0 to 9, things would be printed. But how does it looks in backend? So it's like mylist is there as a reference. There are 10 elements, so 10 blocks would be there. As we keep on entering the values, it would keep on entering. Like we have double values. So if we take, for example, first input from the users, then we will have 5.6 like first enter. Then if we enter 4.5, then it will go into the next index. So as we keep on entering the values, the index of array is going to increase, and the values are going to be like filled from first from the 0 and then from 9. If we want to enter from back in the reverse thing, then we can have int I equals to mylist dot length minus 1, and we will go till I is less than equals to 0, and we have to do I minus minus. Then what will happen is the values will enter from bottom to top. So it is according to our convenience or our problem, we can change things here. But just keep in mind that the index will always start from 0 and it will go till length minus 1. Next thing is 2D arrays. 2D arrays are nothing but they are like matrices. So as we have a matrix, the positions are like this is 0 with row first, second, and here also we have the column. So this is our 0 0. This will be our 0 1. This will be our 0 2. So like this, we have a matrix, and this is what is represented as 2D arrays. Because in the normal arrays, we have a linear structure, but in case of 2D arrays, we have a two-dimensional structure. Like we can traverse elements in x-axis as well as along the y-axis. Because as we have seen in the upper slide, as as we have seen in the upper slide, that we are having a row size as well as column size present. So here we have two dimensional, like we are working on two axes, x axis and y axis. But in case of normal arrays, we are working on a single linear axis. Okay. So simply for any operations which you work on in Java, they are going to be done using this two-dimensional arrays. So now just keep in mind that the conditions, like this diagonal is referred to as the principal diagonal, and this principal diagonal will have the condition of I equals to j. Okay, I equals to j. So this is what is actually the condition for the principal diagonal. Like most of the questions which you are going to get in the 2D arrays, the usage will be of the diagonal elements, principal diagonal elements. So this is what we have as the condition for principal diagonal. And if you have to create a matrix, then we can have two things. We can either have the brackets present before the variable name or after the variable name. It's same, we can have any of them. So we will have the firstly data type, the name of the array. Then we will have two brackets signifying that we have x and y axis. Then we will have again the new keyword which would allocate space in the main memory for the given variable, and we will have the again the data type that is for the constructor, and then we will give this time two inputs differently, x-axis and y-axis. So here a 10 cross 10 uh, square matrix would be created. Now we have initialized the matrix 0 0 value with 3. Now here what we are so this is kind of initialization, but if we want to have random values, then remember this, that mat dot random, mat dot random is the keyword which is present which will have numbers between 0 to 1. Randomly, any number between 0 to 1 would be given as output. We will multiply it by 1000. So for example, if we get 0.8889, we will multiply it with 1000. We will get 88.88 888.9. Now we are converting it into int. This is what is actually typecasting. We are converting this double value into an integer. So we will get 888 as the output for this. So it would have the numbers like 3 digits number would be stored at every instance or every location of the double dimensional array. So this is what is actually the use of math.random. It would generate any random number between 0 to 1. So any number can be generated between 0 to 1. Now here if we give variables like this 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like that. So the array which would be created would be like 1, 2, 3, 4. So like this, by just giving the values in linear, if we have a two-dimensional array, then it would be created in this way. It all depends on the type or the order which are given. So it depends on the order of the two-dimensional array which has been defined. The linear data can also be segregated into a form of a two-dimensional array. And the thing of what is actually a two-dimensional array is it again should belong to the same data type. So the property of array remains same, which should have the same data type. They are stored in continuous memory location. Now, what do I mean by continuous? If the first one is present in 0, the second element would be present at the memory location 1. So if we have a memory stack present and this is location 100 and it has the first element, so the second element will be stored in the location 101, third will be stored in 102. It may be 5000 as the location, so the next element should be stored in 5001. So all the elements should be there in the continuous memory location. And we have using two or more indexes called, like here we have, for example, this is the data structure like arrays which are linear. But if we have a two-dimensional thing, then we will have for each one space, it would have four spaces present as columns. Now again for second row, we would have again four columns present, which would be having the values. And again for third uh, row, we will be having four columns present, which would be having the value present in there. So this is what actually two-dimensional array is. It's just the operations of matrices which can be performed in Java through two-dimensional arrays. It has a X as well as a Y component present. That is the rows and columns which defines the order of the array, and the properties of matrices can be used to solve questions related to that. So let's do a similar question to it. Yeah. So transpose of a matrix. So uh, transpose is what if we have a matrix like this. Okay, if we have a matrix like this, if we do its transpose, if we do its transpose, then the rows will become column and the column will become rows. So it will be like this is what is actually the transpose of a matrix. So we need to do this transpose using in Java. So as we are having something related to matrix, it is very clear that we are going to use two-dimensional arrays in this. So what we have done is, the first thing which we have done is we have imported the util package because we want to have the order of the matrix and the values of this variables from the user. So that is why we have imported the package. We have given the class name as transpose for our convenience. And then we have the public static void main function with string args present. Then the next thing which we have done is we have written this import the scanner thing into our program. And now as we have given the function system.in to the compiler, so now it knows that yes, we can take input from the user. The first thing which we are doing is we are importing the number of rows and columns from the user. So now we will input the number of rows and the number of columns for the user. So it will be int a two brackets which will have our number of rows and number of columns present. So we have created a double dimensional array with the order defined according to the inputs from the user. And we have created another array where what we have done is we have created the number of rows as C and number of columns as R. Now why we have done this? Let's understand with this example. For example, take this matrix A, B, C, D. So if we write its thing, it will be A, C, E and B, D, F. So as it is a rectangular matrix and not a square matrix, if we do the transpose, then the order is also going to change. So here it is going to be a 2 cross 3 matrix, but here it is going to be a 3 cross 2 matrix. So as here both the rows and columns are identical, so the reverse exchange would not make any changes. But when it is a rectangular matrix, this makes a major change. So that is why we should change the order also while creating the two-dimensional array. Okay, matrix for transpose storing the transpose value. Then what we have done is we have done elements and the elements, like we have given a command to the debugger that yes, you start entering the values. Then we have entered the elements, and then what we have done is now see this a value which has a location. Now a is stored at A00 has 8. So what we will do is we will store the elements in B matrix. This is our B matrix. We'll be storing the values. This value will be the value of the matrix which is stored of A, that is the first element. So here what we have is 0 0. If we interchange this, again it is 0 0. So your diagonal so this element would remain as the first element only. But if we move to B element, so the B element here is nothing but it is 1 0, but here it is 0 1. So what we are doing is we are interchanging the rows and columns. So here we kept I as row, J is column, but here we are taking J as row and I as column. So the things are going to interchange, and as a result of which we are going to get the desired result. Because here we can see in transpose, we have to change the order. So this is what is to be done here. Okay. So let's. So this is how then we have just printed the matrix which we have got. So let's see the execution of this code. So it's the same code, and just the change what we have, the logic is B of ij is equals to A of ji. That is your row element will become the column element. Okay. So this is what is the major change which we have. So let's execute this code. The first thing which we comes is like enter number of rows. So I will give it maybe 2 rows. Okay. In total, we have to enter 6 elements. I will enter 6 elements. Yes, there is. We'll check this out later. Okay, so this is how we can do the transpose thing. Now the next thing which we will have is the sorting thing. So for array, the thing which comes is sorting. So sorting is what? Arranging any random sequence uh, in a sorted order, maybe ascending or maybe descending. For example, if we have random data set as 9, 7, 15, 14, 20. Like this, we are having a 5 data maybe. So we have to design a code such that they might be either arranged in ascending order or they might be arranged in descending order. Either it will be 22, 15, 13, 9, 7 or 7, 9, 15, 13 or 22. Whatever is that, we can do that. So first thing which we have to check is the first number. So we have basically two techniques present with us. Either it can be a bubble sort or it can be a selection sort. Both are two different techniques which we can use for sorting the elements. So what we have basically done is we have defined a switch case. Now switch case helps us to know whether we want to use bubble sorting or we want to use selection sort. Uh, so maybe if we want to use bubble sort, we can press B, and if we want to do selection sort, we can enter S. Now, here at last, we should have the print break statement so that there is no fall through case, and here also we can have the break statement so that there is no fall through statement. Okay, so now let's understand the code. Now, what actually bubble sort will do is it is taking the two consecutive numbers, that is a of j plus 1 and a of j. That means, firstly, these two numbers will be checked, and it is taking that if the second number, if j plus 1, like here is our pointer right now, we are pointing to j0. So if our j plus 1 is greater than that, then we should swap this two, else we should not swap. Okay, so this is what I explained you in yesterday's class. This is the thing for swapping two numbers without without any third, using any third variable. So what we will do is we will now be pointed to this one after the first execution. As it is false, no swapping would occur. Now in the second case, this would be the j plus 1 and this would be the j. So as the second one is greater than the first one, so swapping would happen. First one would be 9, then we will have 15, then we will have 7, then we will have 13, and then we will have 22 present. Okay, so now next thing what will happen is, again now this two will be checked, and again the second one is greater, so it would be interchange, and we will have 22. Okay, now this and this will be checked. So with this, what we get to know is that the lowest number in the deck would be present at the last always. So lowest number would come to the last after first one complete execution. Then what we will have is we will check this. Now again we will come to the another time, the I will be incremented one time and it will again execute. Now what will happen? Again we will check j and j plus 1. We will check j and j plus 1. J plus 1 is greater, so 15 would be there, 9 would be there. Then 13 and 9 would be checked, so 13 and 9 would be again an interchange, so it will be interchange. Now 22 and 9 will be changed, and 7 and 9 won't be changed. So we can see from the last our things are getting sorted. Now again 15 and 13 will be 15 and 13 won't be checked. Then we will have 22 and 13 which are going to be interchanged because the second one is greater than the uh, this one. So 22 will be there, then 13, then 9, and then 7. And then in the last, these two will be interchanged and we will get our sorted list. But it is not very efficient because of the point of view that it takes n squared. Like if we have the length as n of the array, then it requires n squared times n squared total time it would be required so as to completely sort the data. So this is how bubble sort works. It would check two consecutive values of j, and if the second one is greater than the first one, then it would be interchanged. If we have to present it in the descending order, and if we have to arrange it in the ascending order, then we have to just reverse the case and check if aj is greater than aj plus, then the interchange would happen. So this is about the bubble sort. This is how you can sort uh, the given array by just checking the two consecutive j terms. So this is one type of sorting. The next type of sorting which we have is the selection sort. Now in selection sort, the main thing which we have is temp. Now here we have this temp word temp2. Now this temp2 will help us to do swapping by using the third variable. Like when we are using the third variable and we are swapping, this is how the swapping would be done. So here what we will have is, if we take the same example which we took above, or we can take another one. So if we have 9, we have 15, we have 13, we have 22, or maybe we are having 7. So what we are doing is we are having the value of temp stored. So initially temp is 0 because I is 0. Now we will have a of 0 like a of j. Now j value will go from the value of I till the length. Here the length is 5. So it will go always from the value of I to less than 5. So less to 4. So firstly it is 0. So our temp is 0. So we will check a0 if aj is greater than that. Okay. So what we will have is uh, a 9 and 15 would be checked. Yes, 15 is greater. So j would have the value as 1. Then again after the execution, 9 and 13 would be checked. Then 13 would be sorry, 15 and 13 would be 9 and 13 are checked. Now 13 is greater. So again, we will have 13 locations stored in J. Then we will have 9 and 22 checked. Then 22's position would be checked. 22 position will be there. And then 9 and 7 would be checked. And as it is smaller, so it won't make any change. So we will get 22 in the beginning because of this swapping. This swapping, we will get 22 stored here, 9 stored here, and rest of the things, sorry, we will have 15, we will have 13, we will have 9, and we will have 7. Again with 15, each one of them would be checked, and whichever one is there, it would be coming here. Then with next thing, again this thing will be checked, and after each of them would be getting the highest one, and we will get the sorted order. Okay, so these are the two major sorting techniques which we can use so as to sort arrays. So one is when we are doing it swapping with using the third variable and we are checking the two consecutive terms, and the other one is the selection sorting where we are doing once one value is checked by everyone, we are getting the highest, and then we are swapping those two positions. So likewise, we can get the sorted array present after the complete execution. Now the next thing which we have is string. String is nothing but it is before starting string. Anyone has any questions regarding to arrays or sorting anything? Anyone having any questions? So let's continue with string. So strings is nothing but it is a collection of characters. So collection of characters is nothing but a string. For example, anything which is written inside a double quote is a string for you, and anything inside a single quote is a character in terms of Java. Here also, the indexing starts from 0, and it will go till length minus 1. Same thing which we did for arrays is the thing which is going to happen here. And yeah, so then we have a certain functions which we do. Like for array, we had a array variable name dot length, but here we have dot length same function, but with that we have this extra bracket present. So whenever these brackets are coming, it is for a string. In the absence of bracket, we can use that for arrays. Then for caret, caret is the most important function which we will have for string. The main use of caret is to extract individual characters of a string, and then we can do any sort of things whichever we want. Like we can form words, we can check palindromic words, or something like that. Anyone can. We can have many problems solved using this caret function because it helps us to access every single character and do required checking whichever needed. So then we have another functions as well, string 1 abcd, string 2 this. Now we have a compare to function. Now compare to function checks the length of both the functions. So for in case the first one has a length of 5 and the second one also has a length of 5. So according to compare to, we will get a value of 0. That means both the strings look similar. So compare to can give either a value of minus 1, 0, and 1. So it would give minus 1 when the second string, like str2, is larger than the first string. Then it will give minus 1. 1, both are equal 0. When string 1 is greater than string 2, then output of 1 would be given. And if we have any integer with us, like 17 with the integer value, so if we write a string dot value of and we write the variable name inside the bracket, so this 17 which was looking like this would now be converted into a string. Okay. And plus operator. Now plus operator is a very good example of polymorphism. Like normally if we have a plus b, then it gives us a value which is equivalent to this, like 1 plus 2, which will give us 3. But in case of string, this plus does not act as an arithmetic plus. Instead it acts as a plus, acts as a concatenation. Like here if we have hello, if we write plus world, then as the output join string will have hello world both present inside it. So it just joins the two strings, is what is actually the work of plus symbol. Okay, so plus symbol is doing the job of concatenation in this case. And so let's see a problem on this. Yeah, so what? So this program, what it will do is, it would It would extract individual words of the string. For example, my name is my. So if I write this into this, so the output which I should get is my should be one, then name, then is, and then okay. So this is what is actually the our work to do in this case. We have to extract individual words of the string and then we might have to display it. Now, advanced thing of this could be we could check whether the words which we have got are palindromic or not, or anything else could be framed out of it. But the main thing which we are going to do now is we have to check how many words are present inside a string, and how can we differentiate that yes, now we have got a word is if the next character which has been extracted is a space, that means we have completed a word. So this would be completing a word and this would be completing a word. So for last word we generally don't find a space, so we will by intentionally add a space so as to form a word. So this is what has been done. After we have input the string from the user, we will add an extra space at the end, and this extra space would help us to extract the last word. So this extra space has been added to extract the last word because mainly at the end of the sentence we don't add a space. So what we are doing is we are running a loop from I equals to 0 to s dot length. So from I equals to 0 to s dot length, we are running the loop, and every time we are incrementing the value of I. So the first character which would be extracted will be character 0, that is caret 0 will be extracted, that is M would be extracted. And what we are doing is we are checking whether the extracted character is space or not. So in this case the extracted character is M, which is not a space, so it would go into the else part. So what else is doing? Else is just adding that value to the existing dummy string which we have created. So W will be W, that is space plus we have C, so M would be there. Then the next extracted character would be Y, which is again not a space, so W will have M my. Now the third time which it will come is it would encounter a space here. So as it is encountering a space here, we would be carried to the else part. We won't be carried to the else part because we have encountered a space, so it will go into the if block. So it will go into the if block and it would print the word. So what we have in W, my. So my would be printed. Now it is a beginning of a new word. So again we have to initialize W with space. So we will initialize W with space, so that if we don't initialize it with space, then the next time which is going to extract N, it would be extracted here. So we want it to be a new word, as a result of which we will initialize it with space. Okay, so this is what is the main purpose of initializing it with space. Uh, Here, so it's kind of an update, and remember that to add a space after the entered string, because we have to extract the last word as well, and this is what we have to update. Okay, so now let's execute this code. Okay, so if I enter a string like, see, my name is and Mayank Chaudhary would be printed. So different words which are there in the given statement would be printed, and this is how it is to be done. And once more, let's do the transpose execution. So we will enter the elements. Yeah. So here we can see that before transpose, the matrix which was with us was 1, 2, 3, 4. But after transpose, it has become 1, 3, and 2, 4. So the first column became the first row, and the second uh, column became the second row. So this is what is actually the work of a transposes. Okay. And in case of strings, keep in mind that for comparison of two strings, like if we have string 1 and string 2, so if we write if str1 is equals to str2, this is a wrong statement. Equals to is not applicable for strings. For this we have str1 dot equals str2. Okay, so this is the syntax which we should use to compare two strings and to check whether they are equal or not. There are few more important, and now as we know that we have case sensitivity in Java, like Mayank like this and Mayank like this would be treated differently because of the uppercase and lowercase combination. But when we are checking two words, they are meaning the same, like they are pointing to the same thing, only the cases of the words are different. So for that we can have if str1 dot equals ignore case. So we can ignore the cases as well in case necessary, and we can check when the case is not prominent or we don't have anything related to that, then we can surely ignore the case. So this is another thing. And if we want to get a particular part of the string extracted, then we have str dot substring. And for str dot substring, we will have a initial stage and a final stage. Okay, so initial and final. If we don't give the initial, it would be taken as 0, and if we give nothing as the final, then it would be taken as till the length. And there are few more string operations as well, which I will share with you a sheet which you can go through and understand. They're very quite simple. The main things which you have to remember is equals, compared to, caret, and substring. So these are the important functions with the use of which you can solve any problem. Okay. So with this, we have completed today's session. Anyone who has any doubts can ask.
Could you explain the 2D array again?
Yeah, sure. So two-dimensional array is nothing but it is a representation of matrix in Java. Like we have a matrix form, so we have elements which are present in x-axis, and we have the elements which are present in the y-axis. So in this two-dimensional array, what we have is we have a 10 comma 10. So this is r comma c. The order is given as 10 cross 10. Okay, so this becomes your number of rows and number of columns is determined from this. And now every location will have a specific value. Like if we take a 3 cross 3 matrix, then this will be A00, this will be A01, this will be A02, and this will be A10, A11, A12, and this will be A20, A21, and A22. So depending on the values of I and j, each and every value, every point will be filled by some values which is to be entered by the user. For example, instead of a matrix, I have given you this linear form of data. So you have to, we are given with the order. So this would be written as 1, 2, 3, the next number. So this is how the 3 cross 3 matrix will be filled using a linear values. And the next thing is that most of the questions will be asking you regarding the principal diagonal thing. So for the principal diagonal is the condition is where the value of I and j are equal. So representing of matrix can be done in Java using the two-dimensional array. Two-dimensional array is just combination of multiple arrays arranged one after in a continuous memory location. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, so no one of you are having any doubts, so you can feel free to leave the meeting. The session is over. Thank you very much for joining in.